Woodturning Photos Made Easy is what we're going to talk about today. Are you interested in making acceptable photographs of your wood turnings? Perhaps to post on social media. Perhaps just to leave on your telephone to show friends. Well, in this video I want to show you some fast, simple, easy techniques to help you make better photographs easily and simply without expensive lighting equipment. Hi y'all, I'm Mike Peace Woodturning, and I'm here to share with you tips, tricks, and techniques to help you become a better wood turner. If you're interested in this, please click on the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. This shout out's for my friend Jamie Donaldson, who's a very skilled wood turner in his own right, but he's also a retired photographer, and I got the main approach that I use from an article he wrote some time back for a wood turning forum, and I'll have a link to that article in the show notes below, but it's an approach that he calls Phrugal Studio. So what do you need to get started? Obviously you need a camera, and maybe your cell phone is all you need. You don't have to have an expensive DSLR. I've got a Canon point and shoot. I had another one that I used for years that I bought with the proceeds of the first article I wrote, and it finally, the little clip on the bottom that held the battery fell apart, so I replaced it with another Canon DSLR that's not terribly expensive, and they're much simpler to operate than a DSLR, and I found it perfectly acceptable for doing my pictures as well as doing my process pictures for articles that I do. The other thing that's a must is a tripod. Doesn't have to be anything too fancy. This one, matter of fact, is over 50 years old. I got it when I was in high school, so I'm dating myself. And it still works, and I still use it. There's a lot of choices available. If you are using a smartphone, you have to have some type of mechanism to hold that phone. Here's one I made out of some PVC rod and an angle bracket. But I would advise you to go ahead and buy one. They're not that expensive, and it uses the common 1/4 by 20 thread that mounts on most cameras and tripods. The other item you're going to need is some type of editing software, depending on what it is you're doing and how far you want to go on your editing. And you may already have that came with your digital camera possibly, but I use two. For simple things where I'm just trying to crop the photograph, I use the photo program that comes with Windows 10. It's easy to operate. It's also easy for me to get a 16:9 aspect ratio, which I need when I upload it to a video. But otherwise you can edit it in any form or fashion you want very easily with it. It also allows you to easily make a few basic color corrections. If I want to do something more complex, I use a free open source software called GIMP, Graphic Image Manipulation Program, I believe. It's available, just Google it, GIMP, and you can download it. I think it has all the features of Photoshop, which I don't use because it's an expensive program and I can't justify the cost of it. You do have to struggle with some of the documentation for the features, but if you use that, the one feature I would look at is called curves. So look at the curves feature and you can easily make color corrections. Here's the key to my photographic approach, and that's this box of 1/2-inch PVC with fittings. It's very easy to make. The details I believe are in Jamie's article. I won't get into the details of how you cut it or make it or anything, but I think it's pretty straightforward to figure out. I basically put a piece of cardboard on top that's painted white to act as a reflector. On the sides I use foam board, which is easily acquired at the dollar store. I'm using a camera mounted tripod. You can't deal without it. You're always going to use it on a self timer, and usually there's a self timer on just about any camera you're going to use, including your most modern smartphones. Cell phones going to have a self timer with their camera. The background for this is a piece of, let me show it to you. Okay, if you're under 50, you maybe never seen this before. This is a roll of wallpaper, and if you're over 50, or over 60, I would say, you probably have lots of this around somewhere, some scrap. But you want a white background. You don't want to use a colored background, and that's one of the basic major tips you want to keep in mind. Don't put it on the grass. Don't put it out on your rail, and you want a very simple background. One of the other factors is you're going to want to adjust your white balance, and I won't go into details on that. You're just going to have to pull out your camera manual, but you need to be able to adjust your white balance so it looks the color looks true. You can correct some of that in editing software, but you want to get as close as possible to begin with. So I have foam board on the sides. I also have this piece of cardboard that's white on one side and has aluminum foil on the other that I can hold in place after I click the photograph, and I can maneuver it to take out some of the worst shadows. Now let me show you the real secret to this, and that's the lighting that I use. And that's this basic halogen work light. It fits into the corner, and it shoots up, and it bounces the light and reflects over all the surfaces, giving a uniform light. So you don't have to set the light. You basically just turn it on. I walk in here, set my wood turning, get it in position, and put it on, adjust the white balance, and put it the self timer. I usually let it sit for 10 minutes because you want everything to settle down if anything is moving. A good example would be if you're having something that's rolling around, or you have a Christmas tree ornament on a stand. But even your camera, because even with this lighting, the camera's going to be using a slow shutter speed, so you want everything to stop moving. So this simply mounts in the corner. These are easily acquired at your Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart. I would avoid getting one that's an LED because it's not going to have nearly as much light as this very bright halogen lamp. Some of you may already have one of these shop lights, work lights around in your shop. And if so, you can disconnect one of them and use that as your work light for your Phrugal Studio. Another alternative is buy a piece of black paper. There are some wood turnings that look good with a black background, and this is easily acquired at a art store. They use it for framing. It's probably in the framing department. But I wouldn't get blue, red, something fancy. It's black, possibly gray. And like I say, for white, I just use the back of an old piece of leftover wallpaper. I also have this sliding piece of foam board that I can adjust the position, and basically it keeps the light from getting into the lens. You can block it off a little bit, and again, it helps the reflection. It also helps keep out extraneous background light that might interfere with the white balance. Okay, for the next scene, I need to clean off my table saw. Believe it or not, I do use this table saw for something other than a portable workbench. Because my YouTube video work, a lot of times I want to lay out tools or some small parts, or may process photos for an article I might be writing. So a lot of times I just take pictures in my shop. The lighting is not generally as good, but I can cobble something together without too much trouble. The key again is that foam board. You can buy it black on one side and white on the other. I take two peaches and I hinge them together with some duct tape, and so if I put any lighting in from this direction, it gives a lot of light. I have good overhead light. Sometimes I might set up an optional shop light similar to this one with a 100-watt LED bulb. So depending on the picture, if I want it to have a black background, I can just flip this over and I can have a black and white, or I can actually use a black background like this, and that makes it very easy to give you some picture where you want some contrast in the background. I know some of y'all are better photographers than I am. If you got any tips or tricks that you want to share with the other viewers, please leave them in the comments below. I welcome them. I learned so much from the comments of you viewers. And like I always say, y'all Right. Stay safe and come on back here. Y'all, forget that.